Okay, what are you saying, people, and welcome back to your favorite YouTube channel. So today, guys, like always, another week analysis for you. On the screen of the pairs we'll be analyzing today, but do stay to the end of the video because I do have a bonus pair at the end. So make sure you do stay to the end to find out which pair that is. And if you do want to see a particular pair as the bonus pair in future videos, let me know in the comments and I will make sure I add that to the list. If you guys haven't subscribed already, make sure you subscribe to join the family. Don't miss out on any uploads in the future. And if you do enjoy the content, make sure you give the video a thumbs up. But without further ado, guys, let's get straight into the video. Okay, so first up, we've got Euro USD, like always. So for this pair, some upside this week, which was expected. You know, the market's been very bearish, so expecting some retracement coming to that key psychological level of 1.000. On the 4H time frame, it did look like the market was finding some support at this area last week. So I said if we can continue this into next week, could be some nice long opportunities to the upside. We did push quite strongly. However, don't get me wrong, I am still definitely bearish on Euro USD. Obviously, higher time frames where I form my bias, and they're still looking very bearish. But again, the market's had this sharp move to the downside, so expecting the market to retrace like usual. So for Euro USD, again, so far I'm not getting any reversal signs here. Just saw a nice bullish leg to the upside until the market starts giving us some strong high lows, failing to push lower. Then we can start looking at potential reversal for Euro USD. But as of right now, all we're getting right now is retracement. So still looking at sales for Euro USD, and there's two key areas where I'm looking to do that. So we've got this price support here on the daily chart, which also lines up with the monthly as well. Key support here, we broke through, never got the retest, so we potentially could come up to this area, retest that, and then sell off, coming back down to those lows and targets again. You can look at that psychological level, which is pretty much that support there at 1.000. So Euro USD, two areas I'm looking at selling, one being 1.035, this daily level here, and also the level that is currently forming here. You can see we've had 1, 2, 3, 4 attempts to break through this level, but still failing. So potentially the market could be forming a lower high right now, and we could see a drop to the downside from either one of those areas. So coming into Euro USD for next week, looking to see if we can hold into one of these levels, 1.02500 or 1.03500. Again, if we do find some nice trades up here, we'll have to be a little bit careful. Reason being, the market is kind of in a bit of a range here. So I would say look to take some profit off at this low here, because the market could continue to range and potentially even break to the upside. But if you can snap through that support, then most likely we'll head back down to those lows. Or if we do break through the resistance, I do have sell opportunities up at this level here, which is that daily level at 1.035, with the same target back down to those daily lows and into that psychological level. So for Euro USD, bearish on this one, looking for that next lower high to form, either at 1.02500 or 1.03500, and targets back down at 1. And now on to USD JPY. So for this pair this week, we've had some nice correction, big move to the downside. Last week we had price explode to the upside, and now we've had a sharp move back down. So this to me looks like a bit of a fake move here, this move to the upside, because the market was quite heavily congested in this area. It did look like at one point we might be running out of steam to the upside. The market was showing a lot of signs of exhaustion, so I was expecting the market to roll over, but then we had this big move to the upside, and now followed by a big move back down. So, you know, typically speaking, at the end of trends, or not the end, but when the market wants to take a breather, sometimes have a big push in one direction, normally the direction of the trend, just to kind of trap some more people in, fade some more people out before the correction or the reversal. And this is what I'm seeing now for USD-JPY. So again, never really looking for buys anymore for USD-JPY, because we've been, you know, taking out some key areas on the monthly, and I do think the bigger move for this one is to the downside. Again, the market is definitely bullish, but you know, as how far that bullish move has got left, I feel like the downside move is much more worth looking at. So I'm looking for short still for USD-JPY, and now after that sharp move to the downside, I do think one could materialize pretty soon. So we've got this trend line which price has kind of snapped below. just about, as you can see there, this is the trend line that I said last time. If we can break through this, we'll look for those sells. Never did. Now we're coming into that trend line as well right now. So with USD, I'm looking to see if we can hold this level here, because this level, I said coming into the week, if we can hold this as support, great buys. We just broke straight through. So if we can start throwing some wicks and rejection into the trend line and into that level, can be some nice sells back to the downside, and start to see a bit more of a deeper retracement for USD. So I'm looking for a push back down into 134,600 ish, into that level there, with that as resistance, looking for the sells back down into that level. And potentially if we snap through that, we do have this level of support here as well, which we could look at, which, oh, did not mean to do that, which is around 133,500. So a couple levels we can look at, mainly looking at this level there. If we do get the break of that, then that's a bonus, but I'm looking at some more downside for JPY. So eyes on 136,700, see if we can hold that as resistance. We'll look for that next lower high and targets at 134,700 and 133,240 for next week. And now onto USD CAD. So USD CAD this week, sharp move to the downside, but then after that, not much from this. You can see the market is holding this key level of support, which I said last week, this is the main level of support that if the market can still hold, I'm still bullish on this one, looking for another move to the upside, back into 1.305 and end target back at the high of this wick. At 1.3200, call it. So still bullish on USD CAD. This level is still holding 1.28500. If we can break through that, then yeah, we do have some pretty clean price action on the left, where we could probably start, the market's come right back down to these lows here at 1.255. But as of right now, still holding. I know the higher time frames are still looking bullish to some extent, not very. You can see the market is very, very choppy, but we're still holding 1.29 key level resistance here as support, and we still are printing these high lows and higher highs. So still looking for a move to the upside for USD CAD. Nice bullish engulfing there on the daily. So as long as we can stay above that, looking for buys from this area here at 1.28500, we'll call it. First target back to the high of the range, 1.30500, and if we can snap through that, we can look for a retest and take some buys into the high of the week and just see this, kind of choppy bullish trend continue. But like I said, as long as we stay above this, I am bullish on USD CAD. I'm looking for us to come right back into those highs. Obviously, dollar would depend. If dollar wants to see a little bit more weakness, we'll see what happens if that makes USD CAD break through this level. If we do break through, we can change our bias. But as of right now, we're still holding. Nice wick to the downside there, showing that price is really still holding to that level. So yeah, USD CAD for me, target 1.30500, and target 2 back at those highs at 1.32200.
Sorry to interrupt the video, guys, but if you are enjoying the content and you find it useful, make sure you go hit the subscribe button down below, and also make sure you drop a like as well. It really does help the channel out. But anyway, back to the video.
And now I'm going to move on to Euro Pound. So Euro Pound this week, nice push to the upside, which was expected. I said to you guys coming into the week, as long as we can hold the support, looking for a move to the upside from this 0.84400 level back up into this area here to come and retest that level. Big wick into that level, I believe on Thursday there, and a strong rejection back down. So very choppy move, but the market did make the move. But again, it looks like the market could be getting ready for another lower high. We've got one up here, second one there, and potentially a third one. So now for Euro Pound, I'm looking for another drive to the downside back into this key level here on the daily chart. And then potentially, if we can break through that, a lot lower, we've got the lows of the range down here, we could see the market come back into a lot of bounces from that level. If we do break through that support, that's most likely going to come into maybe a bit of a level here to take into account as well. But if we break through that, then I'm expecting us to form a major lower high and come back into the lows of that range. So Euro Pound's got one drive, second, third, looking at moves to the downside. Now for entries, again, as long as we don't break through this level / break through that high, looking to sell the market. We do potentially have a little bit of a head and shoulder pattern here forming on the 4H, left, head, and then right shoulder. So short from that level could look very, very good. Or if we do push a little bit higher, into that level, we can look for the double top to happen there as well. Basically, as long as we don't take out that level, we're looking for that to be the next lower high. And then yeah, targets back down into the level of support, the daily, and you got that kind of candlestick support there on the daily, and then the major low down there as well, depending how far you want to push the trade. I'll leave it for here for now, but if we do start breaking those levels, we've got 0.83 800 and 0.83 200 to look at. But first major target where we could potentially reverse from is this daily low here. So looking for a move back down into that level. Like I said, that head and shoulder level is something to take into account as well. But overall, we are looking at some shorts for euro pound for next week. Targets 0.84 300 for next week. And now we're going to take a look at AUD/USD. So again, more upside for this one, which we were expecting to see some retracement for AUD/USD, retracement for the dollar pairs. But again, nothing major has changed. The market is still overly bearish. No real strong bullish structure forming. The sellers are still controlling the higher time frames, daily, weekly, monthly. Everything is still pointing to the downside. So until something significant happens, I'm still bearish on AUD/USD. And now that we've had that move to the upside, this is the level which I said would look good for the market to come and retrace into, which is 0.69 800. You can see just about wicked into that level and then reversed on the lower time frames, and it does line up beautifully with this low here. Major move to the upside, now turn resistance. So I'm looking for some downside now for AUD/USD, not necessarily back down to the lows. We could end up there, but we're just going to take it step by step, just in case we have a more complex correction and the market doesn't just fall on a pinhead there. But I'm looking at some downside now for AUD/USD. Again, nice push into that level. So basically, as long as we don't take out that structure here at 0.69 800, still bearish on that pair. So even if we do open the week bullish, coming back into this levels, as long as we don't break through, still looking at sells. Again, overall target back down here, but we can start looking at some of these targets here on the left. This was a strong low here, as you can see. Big move to the upside from that level, briefly support as well. So that will have to be the first target, which is at 0.68 400. So a move into that level, if we can snap through, then I believe we can head back down to those lows at around 0.67. But for next week, we'll call it to this level. If we do break through that level and go to those lows, that's a bonus. But we'll just look for a move back down into 0.68 438. We'll call it 0.68 400 for now. But yeah, AUD/USD still bearish, looking for that next major lower high. I believe we're also lining up with a trend line, with that lower high up there, that lower high, and you can see just about wicked into that trend line there as well. So some nice confluence in that area, and I do think we can form that lower high to come lower. So first target into that daily low, second target, got the lows down there. So for AUD/USD, I'm looking for sells for next week. And now on to NZD CAD. So for this pair, mainly consolidation this week, but it does look like on Friday we've had a nice close above this resistance. We've had many wicks into that level, prices struggling to break through, but now the market's had a good close above that level. So it looks like we've got that inverse head and shoulder pattern playing out now. Now we've got the break above the neckline. Just to clarify, left shoulder, the head, and the right shoulder. Now this is our price breaking through the neckline. So if we can get a retest / hold above that level at least, expecting to see some nice upside. Nothing crazy. The market is still definitely bearish on the higher time frames. You can see the lower high and the lower lows fluctuating. And I do think it's time for a bit more upside. I'm looking at 0.81600 into that area there, where maybe again another lower high could form. Potentially got a bit of a trend line going on here as well. Lower high could form and see another move to the downside. So again, don't buy into those longs for too long, because the market could still roll over unless we snap through. Then again, that's a different story. But for NZD CAD, I was about to say AUD/USD. For NZD CAD, looking at this zone here, very messy on the 4H, because again it's got all those wicks on the daily. But I'm looking at kind of refining the level to this 0.80500 level here, so you can get a retest of that, buys to the upside, and targets 0.81500. A little bit of a trend line confluence there as well at that area. So yeah, Buys for NZD CAD back up to 0.81500, and in fact, if we do see some nice rejection, probably some nice sells again in the later stages of next week as well. But for now, we're going to focus on this head and shoulder pattern. That'll move back up to 0.81500 for next week. Okay, so next up, pound New Zealand dollar. So for this pair, nice move to the downside. I mean, very, very choppy to be fair, actually, but we did see a move to the downside, which we were expecting. Again, looking for the market to roll over. You can see on the weekly time frame, the wicks to the upside still remain. So again, still looking for the market to roll over from the next lower high from this big drop we had. And I'm looking at us returning back to 1.89 at that support level there. So that's where the bias and the direction comes from for pound NZD. Still looking at that rolling over. The only obstacle in our way really is this key level of support, which is the low of the range essentially. You can see the market's bounced many times from this support at around 1.91500, and we still haven't broken through. You can see we've pulled back, closed bullish above, so might see another move to the upside for pound NZD before the breakout. But as long as we can respect this trend line here, actually you can probably even consider that high up there. Actually no, we'll keep it to that one. As long as we can respect this trend line, I do believe that the next major move for the market is back down to these lows here. So basically the market's kind of squeezing. We've got the key support, which is the consolidation low, and then we've got that trend line. So the market's kind of doing this and it's getting ready for a break to the downside, I would expect, or it could be to the upside, of course. Nothing is 100%. So looking at sells, not from, at this support, because we don't want to sell into that key level of support. If we can see another move to the upside, did not mean to use that, another move to the upside, potentially back into that resistance there. We should probably see better on the hourly time frame, as you can see, back into that resistance, or even better, back into the trend line there for another lower high, and then we can look for our sells back down into 1.91500, which will be the daily low support. And again, I wouldn't recommend holding the trade unless you've taken out most of your profit, because again, we could indeed bounce again from the support and push higher. You could do something like this. So do you want to take most of your profit or just close the trade completely? The push that I'm talking about to 1.89 or this level of support here, we do want to see a break of this level and then the retest, and that's how we're going to look to trade that move, because again, this is a level you don't really want to mess with if it does end up holding. So yeah, for me, pound NZD bearish to 1.89, but looking at a minor move to the upside, another lower high forming, another push to the downside using those trend lines, and then if you can get a break and retest of this daily level at 1.915, and then yeah, sells back down to that daily low over there. Okay, so next up, CAD Yen. So for this pair, we did see some upside. I was telling you guys coming into the week, expecting these highs to go, expecting to see some new highs past 107. Just about saw that. You can see with those candlesticks there, push 1, push 2, push 3. Failed to really push past them, however. And as you can see, Thursday, Friday, huge push to the downside. But nothing has changed too much from a structure trend point of view for CAD. Although we are seeing some strong CAD JPY, although we are seeing some strong bearish momentum here, you can see the market is still giving us higher highs and higher lows here. So nothing, completely missed the high there. Nothing really much has changed right now for CAD JPY. This again could be retracement for another move higher. So until I see some lower highs forming, that's when we can start getting back on the sells again for CAD JPY, because I was looking for the sells for CAD with the lower highs forming here. But you can see we've pushed past them. So until those low highs start forming again, I'm still bullish on CAD JPY. We've got a key support there and another one here, which is where I'm looking for long opportunities for another move back to the upside. The only thing I would say though is that we are seeing some strong momentum coming back down. And it's not the first time. You can see strong momentum, strong momentum, strong momentum. It's a sign that the market is starting to tire. So when we do get good buy opportunities, I wouldn't hold them for too long. At best 107, back to these highs up here, not necessarily new highs, which is a big difference. Looking at push into this kind of zone up there. And if we break through that, we've got this support here as well, which gave us this higher low for that move to the upside. So CAD JPY is still bullish because of structure. It's still intact. So looking at a test of 105 basically 105 on the dot. Now I'm going to move back up to 107. If we break through 105, then longs from 103.750 back down here, and again a move to the upside. And until I start seeing those lower highs form, that's when I'll change my bias. But as of right now, everything is still looking bullish. So bias for CAD JPY 105 and 103, 103.750 back up to 107 for next week. And up next we've got pound USD. So again, pound USD, not too much from this pair. Yes, a nice upside, but overall the market after that just consolidated for the remainder of the week. The key area that I'm looking at for pound USD is this level of support here. This was our prior swing low, market pullback, broke through, and now we're back above and firing some wicks to the downside. So pound USD might still see some more upside. Again, similar to Euro USD, AUD USD, I'm still bearish overall on these pairs until I get some some good structure forming in the opposite direction and some stronger signs of reversals. So I still do think the market's coming back down, but we might see another move higher. Like I said last week, overall I do think we can sell off from 1.21750. This prior low here, tied as resistance, will be a great place to sell for another move back down again. But as of right now, things are consolidating, so nothing is really 100% right now. So the best way to trade it, pound USD, is either trade the fluctuations of the range between 1.19 and 1.2300, or wait for the breakout. If you can break to the upside, it will show us that the bulls are still in control, and look for another drive back up to 1.21750. Nice break and retest there, and a push into that level. If we break to the downside south and break through obviously the daily low here, not the daily low, the price swing low, sorry, and the low of the range, that'll tell us that the market is definitely still bearish. Not definitely, most likely, don't want to say definitely, most likely still bearish, and then you can look for our retest to go to the downside. So that's the best optimal way to trade pound USD right now, because it's very, very indecisive in that range. Obviously, you can take advantage of the fluctuations in that, but for the next swing of pound USD, we do need to see a breakout to get that clarity of which way price can go, because it's kind of like 50-50, even though we are trading, holding onto that support level there. So yeah, pound USD, looking to see what's next. I'm still bearish on the pair, so if you do see that move to the upside, again, look for the sells up around that area for another drive lower. Or if you do break to the downside, we'll take the shorts anyway and push back down to 1.7800 is where I expect price to trade to next. Okay, so now I'm going to move on to pound CAD. So pound CAD, not too much this week, as you can see. Price is just moving sideways, consolidating, but it is trapped underneath a very key level of support. As you can see, this is our prior low, big push to the upside, a lot of wicks into this area, a lot of wicks into this area as resistance as well. So this 1.55 area is definitely a key level here for pound CAD. On the higher time frames, it is trading at a key level of monthly level of support. You can see these lows here, a lot of wicks into this area, and a big explosion to the upside. As you can see, we are tapping into that level, so we could be seeing some upside for pound CAD. Again, very, very overextended to the downside. We do expect to see a bullish month come somewhere. So, this is where we could see a reversal for pound CAD. But again, not going to try and force that, because as of right now, everything is still looking bearish. There is signs that the market is depleting and getting exhausted. But until we break back above, the market is still definitely bearish. So pound CAD, the way we're going to look at this one is, again, more sells to the downside as long as we hold this area, and another drive back down to those lows at 1.3600. Let's look at this low there. If we can break above, then we'll look for the break and retest and the reversal to the upside. I still do think we can come back into 158 up there, which is that broken support. Take that across. There's also this level here as well, so it is a meaningful level we can come and retest if we can get above. But as things stand, we don't have that quite in place just yet. So watching to see what we do at 155. If we come into this level, respect it again. Sales could start pretty early next week. Another drive back down to 1.3500. As you can see there, two nice wicks into that level. So obviously those are the lows where we could go and see some new lows potentially if the trend continues. But if you can break above the trend line, break above the resistance, get some nice high lows forming, retest the level, then you can push the trade probably to 1.58. But again, you've got some highs here on the left, which you can look to target, or high there, a high up there, so you don't have to push all that to 158. You can take a profit much before that, but from a swing point of view, that's what I do expect the market to be trading at if we can break past the trend line and the resistance. So pound CAD for next week, see what happens at 155, hold resistance and the trend line, sells back down to lows 153,600, and if we break to the upside, we'll look for the retest and buys the 158. Okay, now on to pound yen. So pound yen, nice bullish momentum which we were expecting to the upside this week. Didn't quite make it to the area we're looking for, which is 168. Got to around 166 where we struggled to break through, and a sharp drop to the downside there on Friday, especially for all the yen pairs pretty much. Pound yen struggling to push through, and this trend line here is holding. We've got a high up there, second and a third high. The market potentially could be forming a lower high to drop lower. Again, on the higher time frames, everything is still pretty bullish, but if this is the lower high, you would expect to see price come back and revisit this 160 area here, come back and retest it, and potentially break through if it wants to reverse. But yeah, going on to the lower time frames, my key kind of area I was focusing on for pound yen coming from Thursday into Friday was this level here. You can see really strong resistance, rolled over to the downside. So I was seeing if we can hold this as support to continue higher back to 168, which was the original target for pound JPY. But as you can see, we have a pretty strong breakthrough. So if the market doesn't break back above this area and struggles to break through the trend line, slash that resistance, the market will probably roll over and go and hit that 160 target. If we can get back above, then the 168 target is back on. And then we can look for the push into those highs and maybe some higher highs as well, as I do still have some I still have some higher targets for pound yen to get to from that bullish trend in the higher time frame. So the bullish trend is still intact, but we are struggling to push through, make some higher highs and return back to that level of resistance at 168. So my area of focus will still be this 164 500 level. If we retest it, form a lower high, especially don't break through the trend line, we most likely will see price roll over, and targets for me will be back at 160 into that key level there. So for me, for pound JPY, mainly focus to see what happens with that level, and that will determine my bias. Reject it, looking for sales back down to 160, break back above, use it as support, break above the trend line as well, and yeah, push to 168 is still on, but we'll have to see how price can react with that level there. So pound JPY, watch out for 164 500. If we hold, sales back down to 160, break above the trend line and the resistance, we'll look for buys from that same level and back up to 168 at those highs. And now we're going to shift our attention to gold. So gold this week, more downsides, came into that 1700 level, left a nice wick for us actually. Didn't quite take out these lows here. You can see 1 wick, 2, 3, and now 4. So I do think this area here is likely to go. The market keeps coming very, very near to these areas. So a lot of liquidity is below, these areas here. And the fact that we didn't go and take out those highs, which again means liquidity is still above there, I do think the market is going to get ready to run these highs before maybe a reversal can happen. But gold is still rejecting this 1700 area of support. As you can see, 1, 2, 3, and the 4th wick into that level. So we could still see some more upside before we do go and take out those levels. But for me, I still do think the bigger move is still to the downside, and then we might be able to see the reversal happen. So again, last week I highlighted this level. If we can retrace into there, nice sells to the downside. So if you do have that push, 166, 168 we'll call it, sells from there still do look good. But there is still that area beforehand, which is around 1745 if I believe. 1742, 1745, this area here where we rejected many times down the 4H. If we hold that, again still looking for the drive lower back down to 1677, which is the wick low on the weekly time frame. So still looking at sells for gold, and then once we take out those lows, I do think the buyers will be looking good after that. But we've had a nice reaction on the weekly time frame, so we might see some more upside into this level here. If we break through that, we've got the weekly level, we can go and retest, see what type of price action we get at this area, which is a big zone to be fair, 1764 to 1786. So monitor price action on there, don't just sell straight away. and then see if we can see some signs of reversal, and then yeah, we can sell it back down to those lows. So for me, still looking at more downside for gold before we do have that bigger reversal, looking at sells from 1743, 1764, and targets back down at that wick at 1677 for next week. Okay, now onto Bitcoin. So Bitcoin, nice upside movement. We were looking for Bitcoin to break out this range here. Again, we were consolidating for quite some time. Still holding on to those 2017 prior bullish cycle highs here. Using that as support. So we're always looking for a move to the upside. Nothing too crazy. I still do think we can probably head higher as long as we can hold the high of the range and not break back inside the range. I still do think we can head higher. The targets I gave out for Bitcoin move up was the low of this wick here, the consolidation, and this area here. So these are areas where I think we can go bearish from. Not necessarily that I think price is going to hit 1, 2, and 3. The market could come up to this area, roll back over, this area, roll back over, or this area, roll back over. So I still do think there's more downside. The market's still very much in a bearish cycle here. There's not really much evidence that we are bullish. The market is just consolidating. So I'm looking for the market to retrace. If you can respect the high of the range, which is around the 22k mark, looking for push into this level here, break through that, got that level there, and then so on and so forth. So Bitcoin, if you're looking to trade this one, the market looks like it's literally retesting that level right now. So if I go in the 4H time frame, again, nothing too much there. I mean, this candle still's got an hour and 35 minutes left till it closes. But you can see some more evidence here, more rejection, some bullish candlestick patterns. Can look for some buys here if you stop loss just below. And again, you can push the trade how far you want to push the trade. First target around 25,400. And we've got the low of that range at 29k, we'll call it. So yeah, Bitcoin favoring more upside. If we do break inside the range, I'll probably just hold tight, because at that point we're going to have more indecision. And unless you're looking to trade the range, sell high and buy low, in terms of looking for the next swing, it gets a little bit complicated when we do break back inside the range. So stay above 22k, looking for buys, 25, and then we've got 29 up there. Break back in the range, probably just leave price alone unless you want to trade the range, that is. So yeah, for Bitcoin, stay above that level. You can look for your entry confirmations on the 4H or whatever time frame you want to look at your entry confirmations on. But yeah, looking for a push to 25 and then 29k if we can hold. And last but not least, we've got our bonus pair Euro NZD. So onto the Forex pairs for our bonus pair this time. Euro NZD pair that I've been watching for quite a while now, and it does look like a really good bearish swing is now coming into play. From a high time frame perspective, I'm looking for us to return back down to these lows and maybe even go further. So I'm looking at this push here being our next lower high for a drive to the downside. So a lot more downside is on the cards for your NZD. Got our first major target at this price swing low, gave us that move to the upside at 1.61, almost on the dot there. And then we've got the lows down here, which is at around about 1.57 mark, we'll call it. So looking at downside targets, these are the daily targets, so higher time frame targets. Obviously for next week, 1.61 would be a good area to have, but from a long-term perspective, pretty much, if my bias is correct, that is pretty much any move we see to the upside, most likely should give us another lower high, and eventually we'll be trading at those lows at 1.57. How long it could take, don't know, but in terms of direction for the next few weeks, maybe a couple months, will be to the downside for Euro NZD. And again, a key level that I do want us to stay below is this level here. Nice support one, second time big move to the upside. We do wick into that level on Thursday, I believe. So as long as we can stay below that, I'm looking for us to roll over. So coming into next week, we do have that level up there. So again, if you can see another move to the upside into that level, that would be great. Looking at selling the market, stop loss above, and then targets back down at 1.61, or we can sell at the low of the range. The market has broke through, looks like it's retesting around about now. So again, on Monday, see what type of price action we can get there. If we can hold, stop loss above the zone, and again, sells back down to 1.61. So yeah, still bearish on this one, looking for the market to roll over a lot further. Again, break and retest level will be great. or if you do push a little bit higher, can maximize risk reward up there as well. So yeah, USD next target 1.61, long-term target 1.56, was it 1.56 or 57? 500 actually, so a bit of both, but yeah, USD more downside 1.61, looking at selling at the lows here at 1.63, or if you do push a little bit higher, 1.65, another test of that resistance, you know, coming into this high as well. We'll look to sell it back down into those lows.
Okay guys, that is the end of the video. I hope you all found it useful and enjoyed it. Again, any pairs you want to see as the bonus pair, let me know in the comments and I'll make sure I'll get to that. Any questions, didn't understand anything, or you want to share your own bias, because I'm interested to find out what you guys think as well, leave a comment down below and I'll make sure I'll get back to you. If you are enjoying the content, like, subscribe, share, hit the bell, all that good stuff does really help the channel out, and really I'm grateful for the kind messages you guys do leave on the channel. So yeah guys, that's the end of the video. I hope you all enjoyed it and I'll catch you all next week.